The story begins with two beautiful sisters, Ginger and Bridget, riding horses through a snowy forest in winter. At one point, the horse gets scared, so they dismount and calm it. Around them, they notice indigenous symbols hanging from the trees. Shortly after, they arrive at a cabin that reveals a gruesome bloody mess inside. There they find an indigenous old woman who tells them their sister has been absent for many summers. The old woman gives each a leather necklace with a crow's head. Despite not understanding the meaning of the necklaces, they put them on. The old woman tells them a prophecy, but the sisters fail to understand it. At that moment, the horse gets nervous and escapes, causing Ginger and Bridget to chase it. However, Bridget steps into a bear trap that snaps on her leg. It's too strong, and Ginger can't open it. Desperate, she runs for help from the old woman. As her sister leaves, Bridget anxiously awaits rescue. Returning to the indigenous camp, Ginger hears the howl of a wolf and runs back towards Bridget, who is facing a fierce wolf. Just then, a young indigenous man named Hunter approaches and calls wolf. Ginger acts quickly, runs and hits Hunter with a piece of wood, but he manages to wrap her in a blanket and knocks her down. Hunter bends down to free Bridget from the trap, who can finally get out. Then he frees Ginger from the blanket and calls his wolf. As they walk away, he signals the sisters to follow him. The girls follow him to a fort where Claude, a guard, watches them from above. In front of the doors, there are crucifixes, deep scratches, and bloodstains, as if something fierce had tried to enter. Cormac, a man from the fort, opens the door and the sisters enter. Inside, they find graves and other indigenous people. James, a man from the group, reprimands Cormac for letting the sisters in. However, Wallace Rawlins intervenes and tells James to step aside. Bridget shows Rawlins the wound on her leg caused by the trap, while Reverend Gilbert demands that the expressions be expelled from the fort. A doctor named Murphy tends to Bridget's wound. Roland introduces himself and invites them to dinner in the company hall. Ginger, curious, asks Dr. Murphy about the graves, but he refuses to answer. Finally, a local young man takes them to their room, which belonged to Jeffrey, Roland's son, who has died. He gives them clothes that belong to Roland's wife, although deceased. During dinner, Reverend Gilbert offers the food for free, but Ginger cuts it and they begin to eat. Murphy mentions food is scarce. Hunter enters and places a wolf's jaw on the table. He joins the dinner, but James expresses disdain towards him, making some accusations. In a moment of anger, Hunter places a knife against James' throat, warning him that he remains there of his own free will. Gilbert suggests they should abandon the fort, but Roland opposes and says they will stay. Suddenly, a deep whisper from the forest catches their attention. Ginger and Bridget head to their room, followed by Hilbert, who warns them about demons outside and closes the door behind them. While the sisters are lying in bed, Ginger has a vision of something evil. While Bridget sleeps, Ginger goes out in search of water. Upon hearing a noise, he investigates and opens the door to a small room, where he finds a child in a corner. When she approaches, he turns towards her with a grotesquely deformed face and bites her. At dawn, Ginger wakes Bridget, who discovers that her sister has been bitten on the shoulder. Frightened, Ginger wants to leave. They find a sword, one bayonet, and prepare to leave. They head to the main door and lift the wood that closes it. James appears, slaps Ginger, and throws her to the ground. Then he pushes Bridget too, but Ginger gets up ready to face James. Before they can fight, Bridget points a rifle at James's head. Amid the commotion, something tries to break through the doors. James shouts for help and other men run to his side. A creature attacks one of them through the door, but the sisters escape. Gilbert yells at them that a demon has entered through a hole in the wall and locks them in a nearby cabin, locking the door. However, in reality, he has locked them in with the creature while the being chases them upstairs. They manage to barricade themselves in a small room where the creature tries to break down the door. Suddenly, the creature falls dead when Hunter shoots an arrow into its head from outside. As they descend the stairs, Roland appears and Ginger tells him Gilbert locked them in with the demon. The watchtower informs Roland there are many more demons out there. He orders the girls back to their room, and before they leave, Hunter looks at Bridget and says something in Indigenous. Sitting on the bed in their room, they hear rifle shots aimed at the beasts outside. Later, Ginger wakes up in bed and discovers Bridget is gone. She goes out to find her, but only finds Hunter. He sees the wound on her shoulder and applies some indigenous medicine, Ginger leans forward and kisses him. While he kisses her wound, she has a vision of Bridget with a bloodied face, but it seems to be just a dream. The scene changes and we see Ginger lying in a pool of blood next to Bridget due to the worsening wound on her shoulder. Both head to Dr. Murphy's house, and on the way they encounter the dead beast that attacked them before, a strange and terrifying sight. Upon arrival, they find Finn inside, slitting his wrists with red stains in his mouth. Murphy enters, sees Finn, and asks if he was bitten the night before, to which Finn denies. While Murphy points his rifle at Finn, he demands that he put a leech on his chest. The leech begins to grow rapidly, and at Finn's scream, Murphy shoots him. Upon seeing the situation, he asks the girls how he can help them, but they are in shock from what they have just seen. They decide it's better not to mention the bite on Ginger's shoulder. As they leave the house, they approach the dead beast's body, the size of a man on the ground. Murphy tells a man named Seamus that once bitten, they transform. This creature was likely Jean-Pierre, Claude's brother. Seamus takes an eye from the body, which is glass, and they confirm it. The men try to decide on the situation, but Seamus suggests leaving. However, Rollins insists they stay and fight. The girls return to their room and Ginger tells Bridget that Rollins' son, who bit her, is turning into one of those creatures. Like her, Bridget refuses to warn him. Rollins looks for some food for his son, but it seems he has disappeared. The scene changes and we see Claude warning Ginger that if the creature that bit her is killed before the next full moon, she won't become an aberration. Downstairs, Gilbert is preaching about the new graves. Ginger feels sick and delirious. Suddenly, Geoffrey appears in the room talking to Ginger, but then disappears just as Bridget enters. It was just an apparition. In the center of the village, they throw the body of the dead creature onto a bonfire, and Claude places its head on a stake in front of the gate as a warning to other monsters. The moon shines in the sky, almost full. Bridget observes Ginger's wound healing, though fellows are growing. In the kitchen, Rollins tells Bridget he knows Ginger let his son out. He doesn't argue, just returns her necklace and leaves. Ginger sleeps in the dark room, sees the boy on her bed, wakes up and screams. Geoffrey runs and hides. Bridget enters and Geoffrey flees. Seamus hears a noise from the attic. As he goes up to see, Geoffrey jumps on him and knocks him down. Minutes later, the men look for Seamus, but find him dead on his house floor with a piece of Ginger's hair nearby. Thinking she's the culprit, they take Ginger outside. Meanwhile, James keeps Bridget on the bed. The indigenous boy named Mai watches and goes to find Rollins. Bridget bites James' hand and he hits her. Rollins enters and orders James to leave the room under the threat of a weapon. In the doctor's office, Gilbert, Claude, and Cormac have Ginger on the table while Murphy prepares to give her a bloodbath. Rollins enters and, anticipating the doctor's wrongdoing, Murphy shoots him and orders everyone to leave. Back in her room, Ginger says she must kill the child to end the curse. She grabs the bayonet and locks Bridget inside. From outside, Ginger watches James and Claude pushing Milo towards the exit. She finds Geoffrey at his mother's grave, holding the corpse's hand. She wants to kill him, but out of compassion cannot. Suddenly, Cormac shoots at Geoffrey but misses. Taking advantage of the moment, both children flee. In his room, Hunter tells Bridget he dreamed of her and must protect her. He wants to take her away to save her, but she won't abandon Ginger. From outside, the men capture Geoffrey and call Rollins to see him. Rollins tries to touch him, but Geoffrey runs to a well where Rollins shoots him and he falls in. Ginger is distressed and tells Bridget she couldn't kill him. When it seems everything is calm, Ginger and Bridget escape through a hole in the wall and walk into the forest. Meanwhile, the men recover Geoffrey's body. Later, the girls find Milo. He tries to guide them to Hunter's cave, but the dress follows them and the three separate. Bridget stumbles upon Milo's dead body, who has been attacked. Ginger approaches and confesses to Bridget that she was the one who attacked Milo, evidencing that the curse still lies within her. They move away and find Hunter's cave. Inside, they encounter the old woman, who informs them that it is too late. Ginger should have killed the boy before being bitten. Hunter and his dog arrive and enter the cave. The old woman gives Bridget and Hunter a potion to see what will happen in their vision. Bridget wakes up in the snow with a knife in her hand and finds the old woman dead with her throat cut. Then she sees herself in the fort, watching a werewolf trap. However, upon looking again, she realizes Ginger is also trapped. She sees Hunter about to kill Ginger. Eager to warn him, Bridget leans out, but realizes that what she's really spying on is Ginger. In Hunter's vision, he sees his own death, where he will sacrifice his life to save Bridget and states that he must kill Ginger. Both decide to wait for Ginger in the fort. Once inside, Hunter hands Bridget over to James. Hours later, it's already night and Hunter is outside waiting while we see Bridget tied up in a small room. Gilbert enters and sits in front of her, offering absolution, but she retorts that she knows his plan and curses him. Gilbert drags her outside, throws her to the ground, calling her a witch. Ginger arrives, knocks, and is let in. At that moment, Gilbert prepares to burn Bridget. Hunter shoots an arrow into his arm, causing the fire to fall. When Ginger enters, James and Cormac attack her, but as she gets up, James kicks her. Gilbert tells Rollins to burn Bridget, but in return, Rollins stabs Gilbert with a sword and then sets him on fire. As Ginger crawls towards the doors, Jen tries to taunt her, but with a swift movement, she slits her throat. She gets up and opens the doors, letting in all the creatures. Claude and Cormac try to escape, but it's already too late. Hunter readies his arrows and shoots a beast. When one of the creatures attacks Roland, Hunter kills it. Roland gets up with bite marks on his face, takes his knife, and frees Bridget. Hunter ambushes and kills another werewolf inside the fort. Roland sets it all on fire. As Hunter tries to eliminate another werewolf, one attacks him, biting his arm and knocking him down, stabbing him in the process. Roland, focused and calm, assembles his weapon and drops a group of dead creatures. Bridget, walking with two lit torches, searches for her sister Ginger. She drops the torches and approaches Hunter. He hands her a knife and tells her she must kill Ginger, but Bridget looks at her sister and states that they will be together forever. Then she turns around and stabs Hunter in the chest. Bridget runs to Ginger and they embrace. Then they turn around and leave the fort, closing the doors with the hope that their nightmares are left behind while the interior burns. In the end, we see Ginger sitting on the snowy ground, with Bridget's head in her lap and blood dripping from her hand. On the path they have chosen, Bridget will soon become something similar to her sister, not in the sense of beast, but in something more powerful. The full moon illuminates the path, but also reveals what we are. Choose another video.